What's up, everyone? Today, Q&A, all about food. I got some good questions coming in from the old Instagram, so we're going to walk through these now. And man, if you make it through these videos and you're paying attention, there are so many huge nuggets of how you can improve your health. It's crazy. But if you don't know who I am, my name is Dr. James Nall. I am a chiropractor and I quit doing functional medicine years ago. I now have a coaching practice where I take people from dealing with their chronic health issues, people who have tried functional medicine, people who have spent lots of money, taken tons of supplements, done a lot of different diets, and just haven't gotten traction in their healing. And we make this as simple as possible. We boil everything down to root causes, build you out a personalized food plan, do a supplement review, I have a progression with food that I've developed over the years. I've been doing this particular type of work for 10 years. So I have a progression that I put my clients through with their foods. You take it as far as you need to go to get the results that you want. And it's a beautiful thing. You know, if you're willing to make changes to food and you're willing to keep an open mind, ask questions when things don't make sense, you'll get these crazy transformations. It's nuts. It's nuts. People who have seen some of the best doctors, done, everything. They feel like they've done everything, but nothing has worked. Doing the right things with food works. It's crazy. All right, cool. So let's jump into it. Disclaimer, this is all for educational purposes. Should not consider this personalized recommendation or advice. That's up to you to decide what you want to do, you with your doctor, healthcare practitioner. So this is just educational. This is just more information so you can kind of see where I'm coming from and get a peek behind the curtain at what I've done to help so many people all over the world heal and reverse chronic health issues. All right. So first question, I train 5 days a week and I want more muscle. What foods do you recommend? So this is going to be something that makes a lot of people's head hurt when you hear it, because we've all been trained since the time that we're young. Protein needs to be the focus. It is a given. It is not questioned. It doesn't matter if you're a vegan, plant-based, carnivore, keto, whatever. Everyone seems to agree, like, you have to have protein. Like something drastic is going to happen to you if you don't have protein. And like everyone who is dealing with chronic issues hasn't been eating plenty of protein up until this point. So what good does it really do you? So it's a big 180 that we have to do. And I've been talking about this a ton all this week with my clients and on calls, that typically you have to hear this several times before it starts to sink in, because it's such a hard shell to crack when you're trying to tell people, like, you don't need protein. You should actually focus on eating less protein. It's just hard to hear that. But when we talk about muscle specifically, muscle needs three things. It needs glucose, so healthy sugar from things like fruits, potatoes, needs mineral salts from foods like leafy greens, and then you need to move it. That is a happy, healthy muscle that can be sustained long term. Now, a lot of times when people are asking this question, I'm pretty sure there's an underlying question that is like, I want to look a certain way. I want my physique to be more XYZ, right? That's a different situation completely. Because if you're looking to just manipulate your body short term to make it look a certain way, which, hey, I get it, no judgment, that's totally cool. But that's totally different than healing and putting your body into a healing state. Protein has nothing to do with healing in the way that we all know protein. That being said, if you want to bulk up, then yeah, you want to bring in some more healthy fats, some things like you want more avocado, more nuts, more seeds, things like that. Yeah, like that's going to help you add mass for sure. But no, there are lots of people who look incredibly ripped and they eat way less protein than you would believe is possible. Now, when you go from a typical protein diet to less protein, less fat, you're going to lose like a layer of puffiness. Like people who eat healthy carbs as a big source of their calories, they don't have that layer of bloat. They don't have that puffiness that everyone else has, and it's kind of hard to spot until you know what to look for. But there's just not as much congestion in the body, and that equates to not looking like, puffy, swole. You can still have muscles. You'll get like, it's basically like you're going through a cutting phase. Like, you look incredibly ripped. You can look incredibly shredded, but you're not going to be the bulkiest person. So you have to choose what path you want to go down. Do you want to go down healthy, sustainable muscle? Or do you want to go down like, hey, I just want to make my body look a certain way for a shorter period of time and figure out what I want to do with that? And this whole idea that is popular, it's been popular for a while, that like, oh, well, you have to, like, if you lift weights, that means you're going to live longer and be healthier. That's complete nonsense. That's complete nonsense. That's another theory that is working backwards from God knows what, because nobody can tell you what actually causes chronic health issues. We can here. It's pathogens like Epstein-Barr and toxins like heavy metals. So if anyone wants to explain to me how lifting weights is going to lower your viral load or cleanse heavy metals, I'm all for it. And I'm sure there's some fringe arguments that like, oh, if you do this, it opens this pathway, yada, yada, yada. That's not real. In the real world, if you take someone who's actually sick and you tell them to like, hey, just go lift weights. Oh, like you're so sick, you can't work. Well, just go lift weights. That's not the answer. That's not a real answer. All right, moving on. What are the top 3 foods / juices to help cleanse and detox the liver? All right. So I didn't want to take the easy way out and say celery juice, wild blueberries, because those should be staples. Like everyone should be having those every day. So we went a little bit more with some deep cuts here. So lemons and limes, those alkalize and cleanse the liver. And especially if you're doing lemon water in the morning, that's a nice, gentle way to flush out waste and toxins from the liver. It's a wonderful routine to get into. Next, we have dandelion greens. Those are incredibly beneficial cleansers and detoxers of the liver. And if you've ever had a dandelion green, you'll know it tastes very astringent. Like you usually don't eat them on their own. You usually mix them in with other leafy greens in a salad, or maybe juice them with some red apples or something like that. But that astringent, the compounds that make it taste so astringent, those are what cause the liver to cleanse and purge. So dandelion greens, number 2. And then number 3, pitaya, or red dragon fruit. It's got this really beautiful red color, this red pigment to it. And that signals that it is amazing at detoxing the liver. Very similar to hibiscus tea, very beautiful red color. And where I live, we get these in the frozen fruit section. It does have to be red dragon fruit, white dragon fruit. So both of them are red on the outside, but if you cut them open, one, the flesh is white, the other red. You want the red one. The red one has many more healing properties than the white. All right, next question. Can fruit make you feel worse before you feel better? This is such an important question. I love getting this question because depending on how you understand this question and the answer to it, takes people in two totally different paths. One's a great path that leads to more healing and like long-term health. The other one takes people right back to where they started, which is not great, right? So I wrote a little analogy here that kind of sums up this question. So like, imagine you worked, for some corporation. You had a corporate job. And one day you got called into human resources, you got called into HR, and they let you know that, hey, we're letting you go. You're no longer working for us. Are you going to, do you place the blame? Do you look back and say, the reason I got fired is because of human resources? Because that's who told me I was fired. So therefore, everything that had to do with my firing, I'm blaming human resources. And likewise, would it make sense to you that you would never get fired if you could just constantly kind of hide from human resources and they could like never find you? Then would you just like get to keep your job because human resources was the problem, right? Or would it make sense that you look for only jobs at companies that don't have any human resources department because you don't want to get fired again? And so maybe if you just go to a company that has no HR department, then it would make sense you can't get fired, right? No, obviously that's ridiculous, right? But that's kind of the same thing people have a tendency to do when they don't understand these concepts is they can eat a piece of fruit and they can have some discomfort. Maybe some bloating, some upset stomach, some type of flare of a symptom that's not pleasant. And so and it's human nature when you're starting out, like, oh man, like apples like don't agree with me. Like I felt pretty bad after I had an apple. And so you start to blame like, okay, well the apple, or maybe it's all fruit. Like, well, fruit, like I actually felt like I didn't have these symptoms when I would just eat like bacon and eggs. Like, my stomach never flared up. Like I felt like I was pretty good, right? But you have to remember, you started eating healthier. I'm going to assume something that you started eating healthier. You started eating more fruit because you wanted to feel better. You didn't start to eat that way because you just felt like $1 million every single day of your life and you had no symptoms or health conditions. So you have to understand like something was not right inside your body before you started eating more fruit. So across the board in the human body, human anatomy and physiology, all fruits, all vegetables have a healing, healthy impact. Now, that being said, two things can be true is that yes, fruits are healing. Fruits are good. They have all the antiviral, antibacterial, antioxidant properties that you want to reverse chronic disease. That can be true. And at the same time, it can also be true that when you introduce cleansing foods into a system, into a body that has a significant amount of toxins and waste, that can stir up some discomfort. That happens. That is not uncommon. I'll just say that. That happens. So what are you going to do then? Are you going to stay away from the foods that potentially are going to heal you because you don't want to deal with the short-term discomfort? Or are you going to kind of let this marinate in your mind? It's like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Like fruit, like I'm probably not sick from eating too much fruit my entire life. Maybe I should kind of find my balance of, how do I need to dial it back some for a little while? Are there other healing tools I can bring in to help get some cleansing going on so that eventually I can tolerate these fruits? So to answer this question, it's a very, very important designation. And it's going to seem like almost semantics, but I'm telling you, it's so important that you start to tell it to yourself this way. A fruit is not making you feel worse. It's never the fruit. It can be what the fruit is interacting with inside your body, but it's that pathogenic waste, it's that pathogen, it's that toxin inside your body. That is what's making you feel worse. So in other words, if we could just, wave a magic wand and instantaneously get rid of all the toxins and waste inside your body and give you the same fruit, you're not going to feel terrible. The fruit's going to be broken down, absorbed, utilized perfectly, no problem. So the job then becomes, okay, well, how do I cleanse? How do I bring in more cleansing foods and do it in a way where my discomfort is not to a point where I'm not okay with it? And that's that balancing act that, I do with my clients, and I help them figure it out. And you'll have to kind of walk through that to figure out where you want to be. But when you start to, it's such a simple distinction, but when you start to believe that, that fruit made me worse, even though you might be understanding what I'm saying here, if you don't change that language, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You have to change the language on how you are telling yourself this is transpiring in your body. You have to say the fruit is healing, and part of that process right now is some discomfort. So you have to separate those two. And I understand it might not seem like a big difference, but it is a huge difference, So no, fruit does not make you feel worse before you feel better. Fruit can only make you feel better. But I understand the spirit of the question. And yes, fruit, you can definitely have discomfort with fruit, especially when you're starting out. Absolutely. But you cannot let that stop you from getting to where you want to go, because it does stop a lot of people. And this is one of the reasons why I do coaching, is because people run into this situation and not understanding protein, and they don't get anywhere. And they'll tell themselves like, oh, I tried to eat a lot of fruit. I tried medical medium. I tried celery juice, but it didn't. It might work for some other people, but it didn't work for me. It's because you don't have the advantage of understanding this and seeing hundreds of people go through this and like knowing like what's going to happen if you can just weather the storm. I love this question. Such a good question. Okay. Next question. I'm constipated even though I eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Why? All right. So when I get these questions off Instagram, I don't know the people personally most of the time who are asking them. I don't think ever. So I have no idea what a lot of fruits and vegetables mean to you. Because, 2 pieces of fruit and 2 pieces of vegetable could be a ton for someone based on what they used to eat. I don't know if you're just eating only raw fruits and vegetables all throughout the day. I don't know if you're still eating troublemaker foods. I don't know if you're still eating fatty foods. I don't know exactly the situation that you're in. I don't know how long you've been doing this. But in the vast majority of cases, if you just continue to increase your fresh fruits and vegetables, constipation is going to take care of itself. And then if you stack on top of that things like celery juice and you get that high enough, you're going to be really good. But constipation itself, the vast majority of times, is just when the normal bowel movement called peristalsis, that gets interrupted from some type of inflammation, from some type of bad bacteria, or maybe even a virus that's in and around the gut, the liver, some of the nerves that connect to the gut, something like that. So this typically takes care of itself pretty easy and pretty early on. There are foods that you can bring in. Fresh aloe vera gel is wonderful here. Papaya is another great one. But I'd be curious to know, like, have you had days where you just eat fresh fruits and vegetables and like nothing was moving? Like, and also, how constipated are you? I've heard people consider themselves constipated if they're having 2 bowel movements a day, where I don't really consider that constipated. So there's lots of factors here. And this is probably the most common thing, where oftentimes people feel like they're eating a lot of fruit and vegetables, but they actually need to eat way more. All right, best food for the esophagus. It depends on what's going on there. Is it esophageal cancer? Is it GERD? Either way, the nice thing is, like, the things that help GERD naturally are also good against cancer and vice versa. But the first food that comes to mind would be aloe vera gel. So getting one of those big leaves that you probably has been at your grocery store and probably you've never noticed before, and slicing that open, filleting out the gel, and eating some of that gel fresh. It is a wonderful, soothing food for the entire intestinal tract, including the esophagus. It's antibacterial. So if you have GERD, there's some bad bacteria at play. It's antiviral. So that would be where I start there. And I know a lot of people kind of like to buy the aloe water that's bottled. It's good, but I would recommend just getting familiar with how to prepare it your own and just get like the most potent form and just eat it. Honestly, it's pretty fun to eat. It's pretty fun. It's got a very kind of thick consistency slime around it. It's different, but the texture, once you bite into the flesh, it's pretty firm. It's got a nice texture. It's got a very mild flavor that I don't think is bad. So it's kind of fun to fillet it up, throw it in the fridge, pull some pieces out, and chomp on that aloe vera. All right, what are the 3 best foods against the Epstein-Barr virus? So Epstein-Barr is the biggest culprit behind chronic mystery health conditions today. And if everyone just got really good at understanding how Epstein-Barr operates and how you can starve it with foods, how you can kill it off, how you can lower your viral load with foods, man, dare I say we'd wipe out chronic health issues. But, that requires, big changes to food. It's good. It's not scary, as it probably sounds, to cut back your fats and proteins and eat more fruits and vegetables. But yeah, 3 best foods. Again, I didn't want to include celery juice and wild blueberries. I think those are gimmies here. So I went with potatoes. And we're talking about white potatoes. Any type of russet, Redskin, Yukon Gold, any type of white potato. And the reason why is they have high amounts of bioavailable lysine. So what bioavailable means is that even when you see a measurement from a plant on a nutrient, it might look small or insignificant. But what's not typically understood is that the nutrients in plants, you can't compare that to a nutrient in, say, like a piece of meat. Because plants have bioavailable nutrients. That means that your body is very easily able to break that down, take it in, absorb, and utilize that nutrient. Whereas nutrients coming from other sources, non-plant sources, they're not always, it doesn't mean that if you see X amount of lysine in something that your body is going to automatically be able to utilize that full amount of lysine. Where this is good. So a lot of people kind of stay away from white potatoes because, they're starchy or they're worried about blood sugar or something like that. And potatoes are a tremendous healing food. It is best to keep them away from other fats, certainly. And the way to get the most value out of a potato is just by steaming it. You just want to steam it and then eat it like that. It retains the most nutrient. When you pop them in the oven, you roast them, they're still good, but that takes a lot of moisture out, it denatures things, it changes what's available to your body, whereas steaming keeps the most beneficial components intact. Red skin apples. I went with red skin apples for number 2. So red skin apples are incredibly more useful than green apples. If you're going to get an apple, get a red apple, 100%, every single time. But they have a pectin in them that breaks down Epstein-Barr, and makes it so Epstein-Barr cannot proliferate. It cannot grow. It cannot increase your viral load. So red apples are phenomenal. And for my third food, I went with kale. And that has wonderful antiviral compounds. And so here's an important distinction. The antiviral foods are critical. They're critical, but they're only one component. Celery juice, amazing for reversing chronic health issues, but it's just one tool. And I see so many people looking to turn their health around, and they're looking for one or a few things to do. And you might see this and say, oh, I didn't know that about potatoes. And you might go out and you might eat potatoes. You might steam them. You might eat them the right way every day for a month. And you might not notice any difference in your symptoms. And you might get confused and say, well, I thought these were great against Epstein-Barr. And I know I have Epstein-Barr, and I know that's what's causing my symptoms. So what gives? Epstein-Barr is a real mother. A real mother. So it's never going to be just one or a couple things that are going to really take care of this. You need a very well-rounded plan of attack. You need to make sure you're starving it. You're not putting things in your body that can feed it. Yeah, you need to load up on these antiviral foods. You might need some antiviral supplements, antiviral herbs. There's all these things that have to happen. And to make things even more murky, there's not like, there's no one plan, there's no cookie cutter approach. This isn't like you can just go say, hey, I want to do the paleo diet. Let me type paleo diet into the computer and I'm just going to get my list and okay, I've done the paleo diet. This is not a diet in that sense at all. This is an antiviral protocol. This is part of an antiviral protocol. And we never know exactly how many protocols anyone's going to need to do or for how long they're going to need to do them for until they get to a place where they're happy with their results. Because you might have one strain of Epstein-Barr, or you could have 10 strains of Epstein-Barr. Your strains of Epstein-Barr could be very aggressive, whereas another person's could be more mild. You could have Epstein-Barr plus other viruses, HHV, shingles, CMV, strep bacterial infections, which are co-infections of Epstein-Barr. How many strains of that do you have? How many toxins were you born with in your liver that can fuel Epstein-Barr? There's so many factors that no two people have the exact same circumstance inside your body. So really what you want to do is you want to get this framework in place, and you got to get up and running and see how far you need to take it. That's what you have to do. That's what I do with my clients is we get up and running, see how you progress, and take it from there. It's like riding a wave. I don't know exactly what twists and turns we're going to take. There's going to be some. Some people need to do more. Some people seem to have an easier path, but you have to be prepared to be adaptable, and just you can't look at this in the same way that you've looked at everything else that you've tried to do for your health. That's the beauty of this. That's kind of how you know this is legit. It's like, do you really think like if everyone could fix their autoimmune by like doing paleo diet, everyone would have done it by now. But it's not that easy. There's more that needs to happen. All right, next question. Is occasional chicken once a month okay to consume? And again, I have no idea, this person's situation, what their health history is, what their goals are. So that's gonna determine the answer to this question. Like if you want to do everything you can for your health every day that you're alive, then no, chicken is not going to play a part of that. Chicken has no net health benefits. There are much healthier things that you could be eating instead of a chicken. But in a general sense, yeah, if you're doing lots of other great things, this is not going to be a big issue. Everyone's different though. For some people, having something like this once a month, they'll be able to tell they don't feel as good. They won't like how they feel when they have this. The cool thing is once you've done enough cleansing and enough healing, it's almost like everything with food becomes on autopilot. And here's what I mean by that. So if you're able to execute enough cleansing protocols and you are able to get this beautiful transformation in your health, like a lot of my clients do, then it becomes undeniable how much better you feel, right? And your brain and your body are not going to let you forget that. So if you've cleansed, if you've reversed a lot of symptoms, and then you go too far off track, your body's going to let you know. It's like, hey, we actually felt better when we weren't doing chicken, and we were just doing more potatoes and vegetables and things like that. And so you become naturally, you have this affinity for doing the right things for your body. And you're going to be drawn back to it, even if you go off track. People go off track. It happens. No one's perfect. You don't need to be perfect. The important thing is that you stick with this so you have enough transformation that kind of, it sets the bar. You have a new bar for health. And okay, you go out here, you mess around with whatever. I'm not even saying I think this is bad or anything like that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Just saying like your body will let you know. But long term, like it's not healthy. It's not something it's not going to optimize anything in the human body by eating chicken. All right. What types of fruit are best to eat in the morning? Cool. Great. We're thinking good. We're thinking like, hey, I'm going to have lots of fruit for breakfast, no fats, no protein dense foods. I don't even want any salt. I don't even want anything cooked because I'm just going to allow my liver's natural cleansing cycle that starts in the early morning hours. I'm just going to give that a 50% boost by not having any fats or proteins until noon. But I'm also smart enough to realize, well, I can't just starve myself. That's not good for the liver either. So I'm actually going to fuel my liver with healthy fruits. Fantastic. Great. I mean, round of applause for the person who asked this question. I love this. Head in the right direction. You're going to go far. All right. So any fruit that you want besides an avocado. The reason we don't want an avocado, and we want to avoid all fats. Another one that we'll throw in there are acai. It's another fruit that's a bit higher in fat. We actually don't want to have that for breakfast. And that's a very popular breakfast for some people. So something there. Coconut. Oh my God, I'm thinking of all these other ones. Coconut's also a fruit. There we go. Okay. Now, coconut water, there's no fat in that. But if we're talking about coconut meat, that does have some fat. So we want to avoid all fats to allow our liver to go through more of its natural cleansing cycle, because to feel our best, to heal, to reverse these chronic health issues, we have to understand there are things in your body that do not belong in your body. So our job then becomes, how do I cleanse these things out of my body? And that's what we're doing with the food, supporting the liver's natural cleansing cycle. And we do that by doing the morning cleanse, which is where you just have fruit in the morning. Side note, I did think of this one when I was answering this question. Melons, you do want melons on an empty stomach, so you don't want to have those after any heavier type foods, because melons are pre-digested, so they need to just go through your intestinal tract, your digestive process very fast. So you don't want anything that could possibly be like slowing that up. That could produce some discomfort. So melons you want on an empty stomach. Next question. Protein for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I don't know. What do you want protein to do? So if we go back to this question, and I just said like, hey, we want, there are things in the body that don't belong. Our job is to cleanse them out. So what are those things in the body that actually cause chronic health issues? We can put them into two categories. Pathogens, viruses like Epstein-Barr, bacteria like strep bacteria, and toxins like heavy metals. So what significant antiviral properties does your protein give you? Is your protein, is it good at binding on to toxic heavy metals and actually removing them from the body? Does your protein support cleansing? It doesn't. Protein holds so many people back. It's crazy. Somebody asked me today, like, what do you do for protein? This was a chiropractic patient. And I told him, man, I haven't worried about protein or thought about protein in like 10 years. And I've seen an incredible amount of healing during that time. So that's a huge turning point for people looking to heal. You have to be willing to go outside of your comfort zone, and you have to be willing to change how you look at protein if you want to heal. Because too much of this, it puts such a low ceiling on your healing capabilities. It's crazy. So even if you're doing a lot of other things correctly, but you're still focusing on protein as well, you're just not going to be blown away by the results that you otherwise could have if you were open-minded to like, hey, maybe protein isn't everything I've been told it was. Have people who are in charge of health and food, have they ever been wrong before? Now, these are like serious questions to ask yourself. Has anyone in like the health industry had to do an about face and tell us like, oh, well, this thing that we thought was right for so long, turns out it was wrong. Now, they don't always like come out, and we don't always like have a parade to celebrate it because people's feelings get hurt. But you have to realize like the idea that protein is this high source of life for us is just not true. It's not true. And that's okay. It's okay. We can move on from that. But if you're stuck on protein, your healing is going to be stuck as well. All right. What's the best treatment or foods to get rid of or improve rheumatoid arthritis pain? Rheumatoid arthritis is a certain strain. It's caused by a certain strain of the Epstein-Barr virus in what's known as stage 4, where it is attacking and inflaming your joints and connective tissue. Boom. That's it. So you want to fix rheumatoid arthritis. You want to start to heal that. You need to remove Epstein-Barr. We need to lower the viral load. So kale, like we mentioned before, it's a great antiviral food. It also helps to rebuild connective tissue. Two amazing things there. Ginger. Ginger is antispasmodic, can help with pain, and it's antiviral. We like that. Lots of ways to take in ginger. You can do ginger tea. You can make ginger water. You can use it to season foods. You can juice it. You can actually make a grape juice together. Ginger plus this next food, turmeric. You can juice that with an orange. That makes a great food, great juice against rheumatoid arthritis. Turmeric has the compound curcumin. Curcumin has natural steroid-like properties. So that's going to help. Turmeric and curcumin, they're well known for helping with pain. Now, this is another one where lots of people, they've heard that turmeric is good, so they go out and they get the spice, the shaker of it, and they start to put some of that on their food. And they might do that for a month, 2 months, maybe a year, but their pain doesn't change. It doesn't, and they're like, well, what's up? What's going on there? That's just one tool, and that's a dried version of a fresh herb. Fresh herb is going to be more potent, but again, it goes back to like, this is part of it. This is great. This is good. Like these 3 foods, they're amazing, but they're only part of what needs to be a complete plan. If you don't know what your plan can be or what it can look like, I'll drop a link in beneath this video where you can, look at my website, potentially book a call with me, and we can dive into your situation, and I can explain how I help my clients lower their viral load. All right, next question is avocado oil good or bad? Because it has to, and it's black and white, right? A food has to be all good or all bad. Not in this case, certainly. Avocado oil and other oils like olive oil, coconut oil, even grapeseed oil, they do have some health benefits. This is very true. But do you need this in order to heal? Do you need any oil? No. Is more healing going to take place? All other factors the same when you don't have any oil? Yes, more healing will take place without any oil coming into your diet. Oil is a very, very concentrated form of fat. While yes, it does have some health benefits, you're not going to be missing out on anything if you just forego the oil altogether. Now, this doesn't mean you can never have oil. If you ever have oil, that means you're not going to heal. Again, everyone's different in what they need to do to move the needle for their particular internal environment. So yeah, if you're going to cook and you're going to be using an oil, this is one of the best oils to use, for sure. For sure. But, if you need to take it to a place where you start to learn that like, oh, I can saute food without oil. And I just want to saute like some vegetables and some mushrooms, and like, oh my God, I can actually use some clean vegetable broth instead of an oil to make sure stuff's not sticking to the pan. And it actually like doesn't taste bad. In fact, it tastes pretty good. Like maybe I don't even miss the flavor from the oil. Or maybe you use just water. You can do a water saute on some stuff. There's all these levels to it. All right, next question. Why can some people eat whatever and seem to not suffer? Great critical thinking here. If this is all true, and Epstein-Barr does cause so many chronic health issues, and foods like dairy and gluten and eggs fuel Epstein-Barr, and you're saying I have to remove those foods if I want a chance at healing, well, how come this person over here, they eat bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits for breakfast every morning, and they seem totally fine? And like actually, like I've been more like I've eaten salads my whole life, and this person just never cared about their health. Why aren't they sick? Couple reasons, couple things to consider. Most people are sick, meaning functioning at a less than optimal level of their health, and they don't know it, or they don't acknowledge it, or the people that they're around, all of them are sick. And so it's just par for the course for them. So they just tell themselves, it's part of getting older. You know, I'm 40 now. I guess like all my joints are always just going to hurt. And people tell themselves these stories all the time. Some people, like, they're afraid to go to the doctor, so they're never going to get a label. There's all these different things going on. Plus, again, we all have different combinations of pathogens and toxins inside our bodies. So some pathogens, some strains of Epstein-Barr, they're going to show up, they're going to manifest as symptoms and conditions quicker than other strains. So we have all these unknown things, all these things that we're just not going to have the advantage of ever knowing for sure. We're not going to be able to get inside of people's heads and their bodies and like really know what they're feeling and what they're thinking about it, right? All I can tell you is a good way to put yourself down in the dumps is to compare yourself to other people in terms of your healing journey and say, oh, well, this person with, rheumatoid arthritis, well, they seem to heal in X amount of time, and they did these protocols. And like, well, I've been doing those protocols for more than they did, and I'm still not happy with where I'm at. That's the game. That's the game. Some people need to do more. Some people need to do it for longer. And, obviously everyone with a heart wishes that we could all just do something for a little while and everyone would be thrilled with their results. But the reality is some people are going to have to do more. It's not a bad thing. It's just part of your journey. And guys, I'll tell you, there's a lot of growth that comes from those longer journeys. There's a lot of growth for you as a person in there. Now, no one obviously would choose to like, oh, well, cool. Let me have a longer journey because I want to grow as a person. That's not what I'm saying. I know that's ridiculous. I'm just saying, like, it's okay to be doing the best that you can do, to control what you can control. And it's okay to like acknowledge that it's not fair and it sucks, and that's totally fine. But I'd encourage you to not give up and to continue down the healing path at whatever level that you're able to do that, and keep going because there are good things on the other side. All right. Is chia good for us once soaked in a liquid overnight? Doesn't matter if it's soaked or not. It does have beneficial components like all fats, and that's seeds, things like that. But I still wouldn't eat it in the morning because like we talked about, we want the morning to be fat-free so that your liver can continue its normal cleansing process. I know lots of people like overnight oats with chia in there. Have it for lunch or in the afternoon. Don't, it's just such an easy opportunity to set your body up for success for the day. by just sticking to just fruit in the morning. Is it okay to put some pea protein in with my fruit smoothie? I would not. And protein powders are interesting because, again, this goes back to like everyone's so in love with protein. We're trained to be in love with protein that we just assume, well, protein powder, oh my God, that's just more of a great thing, right? But if you really think about it, these protein powders, they're just highly processed foods. They're very unnatural. It's an unnatural amount of protein to get in such a small serving, right? And again, protein like this is not needed for health, longevity, for healing. It's not needed for any of that stuff. And when you're ingesting these concentrated amounts of protein, it burns out your hydrochloric acid because the digestive acid, hydrochloric acid, produced by your stomach glands, that's its job. It's got to break down proteins. So when you take any type of protein, even a plant-based protein, you're just like, you're kicking the hell out of your stomach. You're like, hey, handle all this real quick. It's going to burn out your glands. It's not good. It's not serving you. It's not giving you any benefit. And it's wearing out your stomach glands. And most protein powders have a bunch of junk in them. Look on it. Does it have natural flavors? Does it have carrageenan? Does it have words that are not foods that you know? Probably. So those foods, natural flavors, hides MSG. It's a neurotoxin. It's really tough on your nervous system. Food chemicals, tough on your liver. Just stick with the fruit. You got everything you need with just the fruit in the smoothie. It's perfect. It's perfect just like that. Simplicity. All right, will eating high iron foods help anemia? That depends because there are foods that are high in bioavailable iron. And remember, bioavailable means that this is maybe a smaller form of iron than in non-plant-based foods. But this iron is much more easily utilized than iron in non-plant foods. So there are high amounts of bioavailable iron in foods that also fight Epstein-Barr virus, like cherries and spinach, whereas there are other foods like beef or oysters that people flock to because they are high in iron. Those foods don't fight Epstein-Barr. And they actually make it harder to kill off. So going back to answer this question, the root cause of most mystery anemia is Epstein-Barr. It actually can gobble up. It can feed off of iron. So that can deplete your iron. Sometimes the body can also hide iron, reserve it, pull it out of the blood so that it's not feeding Epstein-Barr. And so, yeah, again, you have to have this comprehensive approach if you want to actually fix things like this. When you break it down, you don't feel good. You go to the doctor, they do blood, say, oh my God, this person's anemic. They're low in iron. Of course, that's why they don't feel good. Is it? Are you 1,000% sure that's the reason you don't feel good? Are you 1,000% sure that you don't feel good in actuality because Epstein-Barr is wreaking havoc throughout your body? Are you sure? Which one makes more sense to you? Why would anyone become anemic? It's never genetic. That's impossible. But Epstein-Barr does get passed down family to family. So even if your mom and everyone else in your family has been anemic, it's because this gets passed down. So just seeing low iron on a blood test and going, I need iron. Cool. You know how many people I talk to all the time who have fixed their their nutrient deficiencies on blood, and it does nothing for them. Lots of people. All right, is chicory root safe if you're trying to conceive? Personally, I'd avoid it. In actuality, it's probably going to be fine, but potentially, maybe it could potentially lead to something like a miscarriage. So, can you go without it? Probably. Um, so I would just skip it, because God forbid something did go wrong during the pregnancy. You don't want to be worrying like, oh my God, did I do this? Like, could I have prevented this if I didn't have this? Like, that's not a fun game to play. So I would go without it. I'd skip it. All right. Is it better to eat fat later in the day, or ideally should I be cutting out all fat? Yes. Yes to both questions. Yes, keep fats to later in the day if possible. And again, it depends on what your goals are, what your health history is, how fast you want to move. But if you cut fats out altogether, that's going to max out your cleansing. You're going to be doing the most cleansing when you stay away from fats completely. So you have to decide, where do you want to be? And you can shift in between these. Remember, it's riding a wave. So there can be times where you want to do more cleansing. You want to have more cleansing happening in the body. So you do cut out all fat. And there are going to be times where you want to pull back on that, and you bring in some fats at some point in the day. How long do I have to wait after eating before drinking again? 30 minutes or so. I wouldn't worry too much about this, but yeah, liquids do weaken your hydrochloric acid. So this is typically like, if you're just someone who, you've got your water or your drink or whatever, and each meal you're going through like a whole cup, you're like constantly, if you're drinking a lot of liquid while you eat, you probably do want to back off of that, at least to some degree. Or if you are dealing with a more intense gut issue, yeah, like let's just work to space out that liquid from the meals. Should you eat sauerkraut every day? Nope. There is no benefit to sauerkraut. Zero health benefit to sauerkraut. And you'd actually benefit much more if you were to just eat raw, non-fermented cabbage, because that's what they take and ultimately turn into sauerkraut, is cabbage, right? Cabbage is wonderful. Cabbage is great for your gut. It's great for it's a wonderful food. And all the benefits are like right there when you eat it raw and fresh. But sauerkraut, all these fermented foods, kimchi, kombucha, all those things that people have been screaming for years are gut foods, gut healing foods, and it's going to heal your microbiome. It's nonsense. These are foods that are rotting. I mean, think about it. These are foods that are in the decaying process. These are foods that were alive. They were raw. They were fresh. And they're just capturing them on the way to their death. And they're kind of suspending them there. Now, this was a very necessary thing years ago, to have some type of food for some people in some parts of the world to make sure they have food all year round. Like, yeah, if that's you, yeah, I'm going to eat sauerkraut for sure. But if I have access to food year round, like most people do now, no. You want to eat the fresh stuff, the fresh cabbage with the antioxidants, the antiviral, the antibacterial compounds in full effect. And the microorganisms in fermented food, again, those are part of the death or decaying process. You want more of those in your gut? No, you want more microorganisms that are from fresh foods, especially foods, produce, leafy greens that you can grab fresh out of a garden. And they're still going to have those microorganisms that are part of the life-giving process in the actual kale leaf as it's growing. Or if you grow sprouts on your countertop, those are loaded with microorganisms that's what you actually want in your gut. That's what you want to build your gut microbiome up with, not fermented foods. It's just another theory out there that keeps people busy, keeps people thinking they're doing everything right for their health, and only to have a realization months or years down the road, it's like, I'm actually still not doing great, but I've eaten sauerkraut every single day. What gives? Sauerkraut is not it. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone who participates in these and follows on Instagram and sends me some messages. You guys are the coolest. I'll drop a link in the description to where you can learn more about my program and book a call if it feels like it potentially is a good fit and we can discuss your situation further.